All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? I'm glad you're here watching us today. Adventures in Rokugan is what we're going to discuss. You know what? What page are we on here? 187. Let's go back to the cover and we'll do a little recap. We're also doing an art stream, and the artist will be here shortly. And he will be doing some cool art stuff. We'll be drawing, I believe, our new characters for the new campaign we are going to be running on this channel.
And he made some amazing progress on mine already.
Yep. So I'm super excited for that, and I hope he gets here soon, and I hope he doesn't get into an accident or anything on his way. I did notice, looking through this book, that there's no character sheet in here.
Hmm.
I know. And it was really hard for me to find the character sheet on the Edge website. I went to
Oh,
Adventures in
that's bad.
Rokugan. It wasn't there. It wasn't. There weren't very good links there. You know how I found the character sheet is that I did a search for the character sheet, found a Reddit thread about the character sheet, followed the link on the Reddit thread to the Edge Studio article where it had the PDF.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be a well supported thing, if that's the case right
I don't
now for
know.
character sheets.
I don't know. I don't know where this is gonna go. Um I know some people are mad that they put a lot of resources into this instead of writing the Writ of the Wild supplement, which should have came out at the same time, but it has been delayed. Um and I'm excited for Writ of the Wilds. So last time we did this, we talked about the species, the classes, and the backgrounds. And I don't know. Uh, you had a feeling that this was like a more watered down version of L5R, and I don't know if I exactly agree with that. And I would like to make the case, if I may.
It's at least adulterated, and you got to agree on that
Oh
point.
yeah, it's very adulterated.
Whether it's water, whiskey, or something else being added to the mix.
we we've done something. We've done something here.
But hey, since I'm still using food analogies and actual potable liquids as analogies of what's going into it, I'm not saying I think it's unplayable or unpalatable. I just think it's quite different. And
Yes. I don't think it's unplayable either.
some of the differences I don't like, some of them I do. Eh.
I think a lot of hard work went into this. It shows the amount of detail that they're putting into this game. Um that said, it isn't the same feel as Legend of the Five Rings.
Mm-mm.
It's not at all the same feel.
No, no. The very biggest, most obvious aspect that is different is L5R in every edition I played, including the Oriental Adventures at one point. And I admit, I haven't played a lot, but I've been in a couple earlier edition games and one round of Oriental Adventures. And Rokugan has always been a closed society. While there
Yes.
might be some options for the occasional foreigner, like Wheel of Judgment, we had Matt's character. I keep wanting to say the DS9 doctor name instead.
He's a Kamari.
Bashir,
Yeah.
not Bashar, Bashir.
No, Bashir is the DS9 character. Bashar was Matt's character.
Exactly. Uh, and there may have been some rules to allow the occasional one, but it was always obviously couched in more of like you're part of a group that's gone out of Rokugan. You're not bringing a foreigner in.
So here, um, they put less of an emphasis on clan and more of an emphasis on you as an individual.
Hmm.
Like here, being part of something bigger than you is not the focus. And that changes things dramatically. I would one day like to talk about what I would do if I had L5R. What would I do to the world? How would I change it? How would I
We got a
create?
couple questions in the chat already.
Oh,
Arctic Suppressor Testing is asking, is this still a card game or is this a tabletop RPG?
this is a tabletop RPG. They canceled the card game. Uh,
A
that's
while back.
yeah. Well, it's not too far back. It was last year. It was last year they canceled the card game. Um, and this is a new version of the tabletop role playing game. There's been many, many versions of the tabletop role playing game, and this is the newest version, and it's based on D&D 5e. And yeah, I am very glad they're keeping the world alive, no matter what form it takes. Um, there's always like something there for it, and I hope that making it into D&D 5e rules doesn't kill the game by, oh, it was such a flop and failure, we put all these
Uh,
resources into it, apparently nobody likes this game, let's shut the entire thing down. And that's the fear a lot of people have.
Now, I will point out for those who have that fear, L5R, no matter who was the publisher, has always weathered these things. They just slide over to another publisher and make a new edition usually. So if the adventures in Rokugan don't do what they're expecting, I do not expect L5R to go away.
So that's an interesting thing you said. It's not that Legend of the Five Rings has been firmly an AEG thing for a long time until they felt like they weren't making enough money on it, and then they sold it to Fantasy Flight. And when I say a long time, I mean over 20 years.
Yeah, though I think the first edition was somebody before AEG even.
No, it wasn't. It was an AEG thing.
Oh, okay.
Always.
For
Always.
some reason, oh, that's right. They allowed some third party from Pinnacle at one point.
They
That's what I'm
they
thinking of.
did allow third parties to do some publishing. Pinnacle, Wizards of the Coast, that sort of thing.
Yeah, which allowed the original Oriental Adventures that was basically the previous version of what we're discussing today. And
Um,
I know I last stream last night, I kept referencing Seven Seas. It's because in my head, both L5R and Seven Seas occupy a similar slot in gaming for me. They are both extremely story driven, character driven systems with an amazingly rich, detailed world.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
They're, they're, those two are the only ones I can point to that tick all of those boxes.
So when you say amazingly rich, detailed world, I think that's where we're having like a feel like this is watered down some. When you say, "Oh, it feels watered down," and I think it's because this is just like the main base book that gives more broad details rather than concentrating on what is the Crab Clan, what is when you look at the base book for any edition of L5R, it gives these broad strokes without going into too much detail on all of it.
Yet I would say that the fifth edition L5R, even when you're going through character creation, there is strong emphasis on the way the world is.
Exactly. You're right on
This
that. There's an
this is
emphasis.
not focusing on the world during character creation.
Exactly. It's focusing on what your job is, what your species is. That's what. And it doesn't like give a good flavor for the different factions. Like the factions are just like this is what you believe. It's all a role play thing for the factions rather than each faction actually has some benefits or detriments to belonging to it because of their philosophies or how they teach, they learn, those types of things, which I thought was one of the best things about L5R. It when I first played L5R, like the fact that if you went to one school or another school,
Mm-hmm.
you could be a warrior and be totally different because of the way you were brought up and the way you were taught.
Yeah.
That was amazing to me.
Yeah, and like first edition Seven Seas does a very similar thing with saying, okay, what country are you from first?
Yeah, well, it's the same author. It's John Wick, who created the first edition of L5R and the first edition of 7C.
Ah, that explains a lot there.
Yep.
He's a very talented man, and I'm very glad he got the rights to Seven Seas back.
Yep.
Even if both of us agree there's problems with the new edition.
Well, yes, yeah,
We both don't really like the XP system for it.
and the fact that whatever you do, you automatically succeed is a little um I don't know. There's things that I really like about it though, that it's more story driven, that you're a hero, so you're gonna do the
Mm-hmm.
things, but there are consequences to taking those actions. It's not we could have an entire stream about 7C.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
And but we both love the world.
we do. I have every single 7C book right there for second
I
edition.
can't show you where all of mine are because they're PDFs on the desktop.
Speaking of that, let's turn on the lamps. This is my Mr. Rogers. This is my Mr. Rogers. Let's feed the fish moment.
Nice story about that. A blind fan actually wrote into him about, hey, could you please speak when you're about feeding the fish when you're feeding them? I can't see you do it, so I'm always concerned. And he made sure every episode after receiving that letter, he would mention it. Just in passing, time to feed the fish.
What a nice guy. Let's see what people are writing about us here in the comments. The cringe setting in Dragonlance is a lot of fun. Yes, I love Dragonlance.
Mm-hmm. Even if absolutely every game master hates Kender.
I wonder if they will do a D&D 5e Burning Sands book. I would love to explore the world outside of Rokugan, but every time they create a book that is about the rest of the world, it uses Rokugan as the basis of it.
Mm-hmm.
As in like the elemental spirits and everything, like Rokugan is the pinnacle, and are the outsiders, always looking in on their perfect land or whatever. And I would like them to care about themselves and not as a comparison to Rokugan. I would like them to stand on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the problem I had with the Burning Sands book back in the day. That said, I really liked the idea that 7C uh, and Rokugan were part of the same world way back in the day, you know? And they separated them because of legal a big legal thing.
The question about have any of the recent books ever fleshed out the leadership of the clans in the imperial court? Some Blood of the
Yes.
Lioness at least tells you who the daimyo of the Kitsu family within the Lion clan. But yeah, it doesn't really anywhere talk too much about it because I think it's actually setting itself up so that you don't have to play in the current time period and be locked in on specific details in your home game. You can go ahead and be saying, no, no, this particular module is happening a few centuries earlier than it actually says, or a few centuries later, which would completely change who's in charge.
Yeah. That said, AEG used to put out source books for each time period or timeline that they were doing. And that was an amazingly awesome resource. So you could play in whatever era you wanted, or if you wanted to play in the Thousand Years of Darkness timeline, whatever you wanted, there was a way that the game could change, um, so you could play in that and people wouldn't be blindsided by who's in charge or whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of a resource is a very good one, and I wish the current edition would do that. Instead, if you want to know who the the leaders are, you have to kind of read the fiction, and if you want stats for them, well, you're gonna have to search for them in all of the adventure modules because there are stats for them in those adventure modules.
Yeah, Blood of the Linus did give specific stats for the Unicorn Champion. Did not give any for Sakura.
Yeah, well,
But of course, she was doomed no matter how it ended. So, whatever.
Kender were only Kender and Kryn. They were just regular halflings in any other setting. When did that become a thing? Well, like Dragonlance was actually based on a specific author who had
Two authors.
yeah, two authors who had certain ideas of what they wanted in their particular fantasy world, and that's basically it. If you think about it, halflings or hobbits are just gnomes. I don't know why you'd separate a gnome and a halfling. They're pretty much the same thing.
Um, Kinda, except that if you go back far enough, the sources are two completely different cultures. Because
Hobbits,
Tolkien got hobbits from a particular kind of Norse fae, while gnomes came from Celtic tradition.
right? But they're so super similar. Like, and hobbits were just a Tolkien creation, really. And
There was some basis on, like I said, some Norse spirits types, and yeah,
but if you
but
look at D&D, they like to say any difference in name, they like to make a different creature for some reason.
but
So that
the
means a
the gnomes of Celtic were quite different from the, I think they were called Vanir in Norse for the hobbits. They were very different sources. So them ending up separate
but if you
things that
think
are very similar, I can understand.
but look, fairies, brownies, quicklings, they're all the exact same thing.
Except
Question
brownies
for
have
you, Corey. If you were to,
except brownies have no nose, no wings, dark brown nut skin, are healers and hearth people, while sprites have wings, fly around, and are caretakers of
Sprites and fairies are two
outsides.
different things. Like D&D, like you could make them all the same thing because they have such they are
similar features.
they do similar things, they have similar features. Like fairies heal people, there are stories about that. I'm just saying D&D likes to I would take similar things and just say they're different versions of the same thing. It makes sense to me.
As far as going easy for stats, I can agree with you on that, but there are a lot of cultural background things where they're different.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, Asian people and European people are totally two different kinds of things.
Culturally, we are.
Culturally, yes. Culturally. But we're all humans. And that's
Question,
exactly what
Corey.
I'm
If we,
saying. These two types of things may be culturally different and have slight physical differences in them, but they're really the same thing. They
So, in
just
your
are.
opinion, Quetzalcoatl is a dragon?
Sure, why not?
It's a completely different cultural thing, but it's a flying reptile.
You have to like I have a video I made on dragons and how dragons evolved culturally independently of each other without the same it just happens.
Yeah, also vampires. Those are the two things that practically every culture in the world has some reference to them in some form. Vampires and dragons. They're named everywhere.
Anyways, we need to talk about Adventures in Rokugan.
Yeah.
We're way off topic.
Um,
Ah,
Glad I was able to hop on in the middle of the conversation.
oh, I'm glad you're not dead.
Yeah, I was downtown and I was making my way downtown, driving fast, faces fast, and I was homebound.
in Bob from accounting, does that make me a variant human? I have yet to meet a human on this planet that isn't a variant in some fashion or another, to be
Yes, you're a
honest.
variant. You're a
We're all
mutant.
variant humans in
I'm
one way or
sending the
another.
Sentinels.
Yeah, like the question I also wanted to ask Corey. So let's say, for example, you were to go to like another part of the universe, and you find creatures that look similar to horses on one planet, and you're like, in every way, shape, or form, that's a horse, but it evolved separately from the horses back on Earth. Genetically, they're nowhere near similar, but yet, on the surface, they're built practically the same way. So, would you still call them horses?
Well, we do that with fish.
Fish is not a true taxonomical thing.
Also,
It's
trees.
just it has no rules to that categorization beyond it breathes water.
Yep. And
Mm.
also
All right.
a lot of trees are not related to other trees, except like way in the past when they weren't trees at all.
And there are a couple of those way before they were trees still in existence now. They actually,
Mm.
about 3 years ago in New Zealand, found a valley that had what they thought initially were thousands of a tree that they had never seen before. But then they looked closer and found that no, this entire valley was one tree that had shot up branches all over the place. That the whole valley was basically the trunk underground.
So last when we left off in Adventures of Rokugan, we were at equipment, and yeah, we have uh, the currency conversions, and let's see what we got here. So they have copper, silver piece, and gold piece conversions to Kokubu and Zeni. That's amazing. But they kept Kokubu and Zeni the same, as in one Koku equals 5 Bu and 50 Zeni. So that's still the same.
But the conversion says, hey, if you're just wanting to go simple and use D&D terms, just go ahead and call them gold pieces, silver pieces, and copper pieces, and go a 10-to-1 ratio as you go.
Actually, no, because silver pieces, 2 Bu is one silver piece.
But under different coinage, it says right there, if you want to go simple, well, simply use one gold piece,
Yes.
silver piece, and copper piece at a rate of 1 to 1 to 1, 1 to 10 to 1 to 10.
Yes. You can do that. But you can also get wacky with it. And there's nothing more. There's nothing more that a gamer loves than pedantic charts, okay?
Hey, there's a whole game show on Dropout about the nerd tendency to correct people and wanting to deal with all the little minutia.
Yeah.
It's a great, entertaining game show called Actually, and that's the one rule it has.
Yes.
When you answer the question, you got to start with actually, or else you don't get the point.
But yeah, I mean, when things are changed from one edition to another edition to make things simpler, watch how people like older fans just recoil at that. Like we were saying last week, Pathfinder to Pathfinder Second Edition. When you go to Pathfinder forums, I find that everybody's still talking about First Edition and nobody cares about the Second Edition rules. And I love the Second Edition rules. I think First Edition's terrible.
Now, there is one game system that we've both played that did put out a simpler system initially, and people rejoiced, and that was Champions, aka Hero. Oh, when they put out fifth edition, they also had a quick start book for a simple form, and pretty much everyone I knew went, I want that before I get the actual main book.
Right? But
because it's all a matter of how complex is it to begin with.
Champions has always been a very complex and deep game, and
Literally able to do anything if you can put up with the math. And yes, you will be doing long division to make a character.
so they have an entire section on clothing here. Armor, shields. They have shields? What do they say about shields? Shields are a rarity in Rokugan. When carrying a shield in one hand, add the listed bonus to your armor class. So again, in all D&D, shields just give you a +2 to armor class. That's all it does.
Or the tall shield gives you a cover if you plant it.
Yeah. Exactly. Concealed armor, shark leather armor. Ooh. Silk armor, animal hide.
Shark leather was around. It was mentioned actually when I was looking at trying to make this character, Yong-Soo, and they mentioned it in the VTT. So, but I think they said it was like typical of one specific clan, but I can't remember which one.
So wearing leathers is usually frowned upon in Rokugan.
That's like the unicorn and one other clan regularly do so.
Yeah. It's considered touching dead flesh, and that is taboo, or whatnot. But here it doesn't say anything about that. Animal hide armor is just uncommon. That's all it says. So there's no taboo against these types of things in this game.
Yeah, I fully expect Young-Soo to get a few side eyes because his formal thing has black leather on it.
So weapons are straightforward. Different kinds of arrows. That's cool. Armor piercing arrows
with a 5e aspect.
Armor piercing arrows. Creatures must make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw. On a failure, the creature suffers the distracted condition for 1 minute. Interesting. I am opposed to adding extra rolls to an attack. Like, I'm rolling to attack you, I'm rolling to defend, I'm rolling damage, I'm rolling to absorb, I'm rolling... Calm down.
Now that combat has taken 15 minutes for just this one blow.
Yeah. Let's pull this back, find a way that we can streamline this a little more. Fire blossom arrows. Demon breaking arrows. Oh, there goes Matt. He's gone again.
Hopefully he'll be back shortly.
Demon breaking arrows must make a DC 15 charisma saving throw. On a failure, it suffers 3d6 radiant damage.
All right. Back on task.
Homing bulb arrows. And soul star arrows. Soul star arrows. When a creature fires a soul star arrow, that creature can choose an invocation that it knows. The next time it performs that invocation, if the creature is within 300 feet of the soul star arrow, it can choose to perform the invocation if it was standing at the soul star arrow's current location. If the soul star arrow struck a creature the previous round, any damage dealt by the invocation is increased by a d12. Interesting.
I could see porting those over to regular D&D and it being very scary for a wizard archer to use.
Yeah, it sounds...
If you count invocation as casting spells, then magic missile with a plus D12.
You know, I would make soul arrows a class feature for some sort of magical archer.
Or since it's for Kaito ritualists in this, making it specifically for divine casters.
Yeah, I wouldn't just let anybody use it because it seems pretty powerful. I would instead make it a class feature, and that way you can either get that or you can get a different class feature if you go a different way. And not everybody can utilize that kind of thing.
They are rather expensive, though.
They are rather expensive at 5 gold piece a piece. Um, it's interesting that everything is in gold pieces here and not in Koku.
Hmm.
All of the weapons look like standard stuff for 5e. There's nothing different here. Versatile, thrown, finesse, all good stuff.
Yeah, and you can even kind of looking at the names of some of these, recognize them as just being renamed versions of other things,
Yep.
like horse cleaving blade. When you read the details on it, that's just a great sword.
Um,
Same stats and everything.
what's interesting is that instead of like Nodachi, they call it a horse cleaving blade, right?
Hmm.
Yet they have Naginata here instead of calling it a polearm. They have a great sword. They have a nunchuck. They have sais instead of calling them knives. But they also have sword breakers. Sais are like disarming weapons like sword breakers are, you would think.
Hmm.
It's weird what they choose to use the Asian word for and what they use to use an English word for.
Yeah,
Um,
they in fact give the sai the exact same snaring aspect as the sword breaker.
yeah,
In fact, the sword breaker is pretty much worse in every single way. I mean, it's the same amount of damage, but the sai is piercing, it's bludgeoning. And the sai gets finesse, but the sword breaker does not.
you can throw a sai. Wow. The only thing sword
Yeah,
breakers have for it is defensive.
yeah, that's it, which means something along the lines of adding to your AC when you're wielding it.
Yeah, when you wield one or more defensive weapons, increase your AC by one. You cannot benefit from both defensive weapons and a shield. Snaring. Once per turn, when you hit a creature that is large or smaller with this weapon, instead of dealing damage, you can force your target to make a strength or dexterity saving throw. If it fails, it becomes restrained. A character can use this action to make a strength or dexterity check to remove the snaring weapon from from itself or another creature within reach. A DC.
Apparently, one of our viewers is reading along with us because his comment, Wakazashi should not be a thrown weapon. What the hell? And I had to look. And yeah, they gave it the thrown property with a range of 10-30.
So throwing a wakizashi has actually been a thing in L5R for a while. There are rules for it in third edition. Um, it's like a desperation move. You throw your wakizashi. It is actually a thing. It's actually a thing.
Yeah, but with this, it's codifying it as a thrown weapon right from the get go, not as a desperation, as a, oh, yeah, I can just throw this 10 feet for close range or 30 feet for long.
Ah, here it is. Wakizashi, 10 gold, d6 slashing, fitness, light thrown. Yeah, very strange.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just a thing you can do now. Wakizashis.
Excuse me.
So when you throw them, do you throw them like a spear or do you throw them so they spin?
Yes.
Like an axe. Like what's the way? What's the best way to throw a wakizashi?
I think the most humorous would be you draw it, grab it by its tip, and then fling it like a knife. Balance is all wrong for that. It's way too long for that.
I'm gonna look up to see what a jade finger does. I'm sure they have one, and I'm not
Jade
sure.
Finger?
Yeah,
I
Finger
think
of
that would be
Jade.
under regular gear, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's on page 200. Jade is a sacred stone in Rokugan. It's said to be the crystallized tears of Lady's Sun and capable of offering protection against many supernatural threats. A chunk of jade is roughly the size of a person's finger and is the amount most crab soldiers are issued each time they venture into the Shadowlands. Bit by bit, the jade is consumed by this process. A character can use a finger of jade in the following ways, each of which causes the jade to be consumed and turned into inert gray sludge. As a reaction or bonus action to gain advantage on a saving throw made against the powers and abilities of a lost, capital L lost creature for 1 minute. As a bonus action to imbue a weapon with its purifying essence, making the weapon deal radiant damage and count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistances and immunities for 1 minute. Before resting to negate penalties usually applied when taking a long rest in the Shadowlands. That's it. I like the first ability. You gain a bonus. You gain advantage on saving throws against like the evil hoogie hoogies of supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to imbue a weapon, that's a new thing.
And I initially, in reading the stuff back when I was making Rokugan, I thought Jade Finger was actually like a little pointing thing for reading scrolls.
So, John, I was not saying 3.5 Oriental Adventures. I was saying Legend of the Five Rings, 3rd edition by AEG. There were rules in it. But yeah, desperation throws in 3.5. There was a -4 penalty because you were using a weapon that, in a way, you didn't have a proficiency for. So yeah, definitely.
I once pissed off a game master by specifically spending an exotic weapon proficiency slot to be able to throw my bastard sword.
you, I see no reason why you couldn't do that.
Just like a spear.
Like Conan would. He'd like pull that sucker out. He'd throw it up in the air and it would spin like this, and then he'd grab it like that and chuck it at something, and it would go through 3 people. Boom, and pin them to a tree.
That's what pissed off that game master. I actually said, okay, I'm throwing it at this one. Oh, hey, I got cleave going. Okay, it goes on into the next guy. Great cleave. So it's going to keep going, and I'm going to make that a pinning attack on the 3rd guy. Oh, and remember, this is a bastard sword. It's got the bore guard on it. So the first 2 people are still on it when it's the 3rd. So they're all pinned. 2 bodies and guy stuck to a tree. And he was trying to make all 3 escape.
I'm not sure you can cleave with a ranged weapon, but
it says if you hit with your melee weapon.
But it's not a melee weapon anymore.
Except it's categorized still as one. So he let me get away with that and then said, I'm not letting that happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the throw anything feats also in Pathfinder.
I'm gonna kind of. Oh, they have jobs and incomes. Wow.
Well,
on page 210, jobs and incomes, you can do grunt work, I guess, in downtime, and get some benefit for that in the amount of gold. I have no problem with this, as if you look in the Dungeon Master's Guide, it has the same things. During downtime, you can perform these things, but they have a list. You make like a roll in downtime, and depending on what you roll depends on if you get gold, if you get a complication to it. Like a plot could spring out of this thing that happened to you during downtime. It was a pretty interesting. It is a pretty interesting mechanic for those of us who read the Dungeon Master's Guide, which isn't every game master. They don't.
wenches.
But yeah, I would like more of a expansion of these jobs like it is in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Since you're not making a separate book for this, I would love that kind of. If you take this job, here's a complication that could happen with it. Expenses, food, drink, lodgings. These are all just regular, run of the mill stuff. Awakened objects. So here's your magical item section. The process of awakening. Awakened items and attunement. So you have to attune to an awakened item. If an item becomes awakened while in the character's possession, the character immediately becomes attuned to it. So I don't know if you know what awakened items means in Legend of the Five Rings.
I do not.
Okay. So everything in the world is filled with spirits, the kami. And usually these spirits are asleep within these items. From a rock on the ground to like a tea set to anything. It's all made up of the kami. And an artisan would work to bring out the natural beauty of these kami. So that's why a samurai sword looks as perfect as it does. If a good artisan has it, he is merely bringing out the natural beauty of the kami within. And if you do it in a really great and awesome way, that item can also be awakened by the process in which that person created the item. So now the kami within it are not asleep anymore. They're alert, they're active. They will give favors and benefits to the person wielding that item, using that item. Now, an artisan is not the only way a item can become awakened. If that item is used in a grand fashion, in a pivotal event, in something that is meaningful, that item can also become awakened. For example, the sword that killed the Oni that broke the wall, and then since that sword is accomplished such a great deed, the kami within it awakened at the at that action. And the third way an item can become awakened is if the kami were already up and around to begin with. And this usually happens when another spirit or godlike being or some crazy supernatural thing happens and it coalesces into some sort of item. For example, the sun cried and her tears created the Jade that is within the world, and that's why the Jade has some sort of magical power. And that is an awakened item, any awakened object. So here it says, let's see what this book says about it. I'm going to scroll on down so everybody can read. An item usually awakens over years or generations rather than through a single exceptional action. Huh, interesting. However, PCs are exceptional individuals, so GMs can have their items awaken more quickly if they desire. This can be a good way to give PCs equipment upgrades without having them replace the items they carry that carry great narrative importance, such as ancestral armor or weapons handed down from a mentor.
Yep. It seems kind of like the rule set I encountered at one point about heirloom items, or it was like legend items that you could start with at first level that were just mundane at that point, but because you spent like a feat on it, as you progressed levels, it gained more power.
Yes.
This is kind of in that same vein, but it's more of a one-off thing for it.
I kind of like the idea of, instead of looting, you can instead your weapon kind of levels with you and becomes greater as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best video games do this. Like if you play Dark Souls or Elden Ring, you take your weapon and then you give it to the smith, and then the smith makes it better. And uh, if you play Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy VII, you keep the same weapon, but you enhance it with materia that you get. So I always like that more um, than looting and constant. It also cuts down on like the murder hobos. Oh, we kill it and we loot it, and then you know that's boring to me.
Oh, we've arrived at a village that's very prosperous. Oh, they got magic items in the general store. Kill everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they weren't intending on kill everyone, fireball's going off in the shop that has the magic items, or the rogue's going to try and steal them and get the guard after him, and then now the murder hobos come out and kill everyone. I actually saw a post at one point about help, my group is all murder hobos. We've destroyed 3 villages. Okay, game master. Reveal that they're actually the bad guys and they've been working for the bad guy the entire time.
I kind of like this, so I like this rule on awakening your weapon and then giving it an awakening level that can change, that can grow with your character. It's up to the game master to awaken the weapon and not up to the player. So I guess the more cool it rewards players that do risky things. So a player that does a cool risky action might awaken their weapon faster than a player that sits on the sidelines and plays it safe.
Ah.
Yeah. John, if you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, Samurai did not exist in first edition.
I don't know. I don't know if he's talking about that or if he's talking about Legend of the Five Rings first, second, and third edition.
Might have on that, but if he's talking Dungeons and Dragons, first edition did not have Samurai. They appeared in second ed.
They also have awakening armor levels and other items awakening. The Critical Role books had that with vestiges of divergence. You see, it's a good rule. It's a it's something that should have been around a lot earlier than this current generation of tabletop RPGs. And the fact that it's taken this long for it to get there, like it just shows the bullheadedness of tabletop RPGers and how much they hate change.
Yeah, especially if you go into if you want more, like if you're using real world things to justify some of the fantasy elements in your game, you're a little off anyway. But if you won't need that for this rule, look no further than English mythology, where they name a bunch of different weapons and they say that it is magical because it slew this creature or that creature or was used in this battle or that battle or whatever. They became magical because of the acts done with them.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I there are two types of people who hate two types of fandoms that hate change. Comic book readers and tabletop RPG players.
Well, I'd say comic book ones are more resigned to it with all the reboots that keep happening.
No, they want the reboots because they hate it that their characters have somehow grown or changed. Spider-Man got a new costume. How dare you make him look like he always looked?
Though I will say in the on Marvel's side, not too many people are arguing about the changes with Iron Man from his original outfit.
Look, well, no, but
His original outfit was rather goofy.
here's the thing: Marvel a couple years ago tried a an all new rebranding. They had an all new Wolverine where it was X-23 or whatever her name is. They had Iron Man was gone and Ironheart took up the mantle of Iron Man. There was a new Incredible Hulk. It was a passing of the torch for all of this, and it failed. And everybody complained and wanted the old characters back. So with in 2 years, it was all reset back to basics.
Though I will say I did really like the Marvel Knights series a lot, where Punisher was reimagined as having died and Hell going, hell no, we ain't taking him. He put too many of us in here to begin with. We're not touching him. He can't come in here. And Heaven going, he's a murderer. He can't come in here. All right, fine. We'll give him access to our armory and send him back to Earth.
Are you talking about Frankencastle?
No, I'm talking about actual regular Frank Castle who died, came back with an angel mark on his forehead.
Off topic here then.
and partnered up with Wolverine.
Yes, I remember
in Marvel Knights.
I remember that storyline. That
and it made it so that Punisher was able to go a lot more buck wild because now his weapons would never hurt an innocent.
That series, the same writer wrote The Boys. Anyways, that has nothing to do with the point I was making.
True. I just was saying, hey, there's at least one thing that I liked about all those changes.
Well, yeah, the changes. Well, no, that didn't happen during that time. That was way earlier. Way earlier.
Oh, right. But the reason I had that associated because that's also around the time X-23 was first introduced.
Yeah. All of these characters during the all new rebranding were all introduced earlier. They just are now the main characters of the Marvel Universe instead of being the sidekick characters. You understand now? And everybody rejected it. Well, not everybody. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I was mad that they went back to status quo. And here it is in role-playing games. And I'm going to bring this back to Adventures in Rokugan. That I want to embrace this. I want... there's a lot of interesting ideas in here, and I don't think we should throw out the baby with the bathwater. You know what I mean? But role players, they don't like change either. There are game masters who still play first edition AD&D and say it's the best thing that ever happened, and to move past that is blasphemy.
Hell, there's actually been news articles recently coming across my feeds about a game that's been going for 40 years using Blue Book D&D. All the same campaign, been going for 40 years. I'm like,
how are they not just,
hired?
20th.
Oh, they were doing multi-generational for this campaign.
You know what? I was in an L5R game that lasted 15 years. But every time a new edition came out, we would wrap up our old campaign, and then we would move to the next edition, and we would continue the same storyline and everything. We just use the new rules. And
my longest game that I was a player in did just that. We started in 3.5 and switched to Pathfinder.
And one of the most interesting things is when we didn't like an edition, we would play it and then we'd move backwards back to the old edition. And that happened with Legend of the Five Rings 4th edition. We played a couple games in 4th edition. We were like, no, we still like 3rd edition. We went back to that for a little while before moving back forward to 4th edition after they kind of fleshed it out a little more. So to me, it has nothing to do with not liking change and everything to do with the intention of the game. And I think more people would... I think people would have more fun and if they broaden their horizons and not knee jerk hate something. And a lot of the people would say, no, I hate it on these merits and these merits and these merits. But they would never say anything good about that game. They would never say what the cool stuff is or what they'd like to take from that and bring it back to their old game. And
I
that's
know
how you know.
my
And that's how you know it's new and I hate it. It's
yeah, I
really,
know
really
in the
strong.
case of my in-person gaming group, we're still on Pathfinder First Edition, and it's in part because of really a sunk cost fallacy going on in most of the group's head. We've spent between us thousands of dollars on supplements and Hero Lab and things like that. And we're just not like, we're most of them are going, we just don't want to spend the money on a new system. We're happy with this one.
I get that.
If you've already spent thousands on it, I can understand it too, which is why I'm still with that group and saying, yeah, I'll still happily play this game. But can we also do Savage Worlds when I run, or this game when I run? I can run this game for you, and I am always volunteering new games, but we keep going back to Pathfinder 3.5, 3.75.
Yeah, John says he has too many 3.5 books and put too much time into them, so to go to a new system. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable
Oh,
way
and
to.
on John, on your longest game you've run is less than 2 years. Eventually, you do hit a point where you just go screw it and see how long a game can go, and don't actually have an end point in mind when you do it. I ran World's Largest Dungeon for 4 years for people, and we only got about a third of the way through the dungeon before they broke out through the drow tunnels.
So yeah, the time cost of learning new rules and getting new books is a barrier to a lot of people when doing new or different games. And that's one of the reasons why adventures in Rokugan exist now, is it?
Because fifth ed D&D is huge right now, especially with Critical Role and Dimension 20 both championing it, and D&D Beyond and several other, and Not Another or D&D podcast, and all these others all using fifth ed and being big popular streamers with it.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, D&D has always been, here's how you get into gaming.
Yeah.
You find a D&D group.
My first game was second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Same, though the same day I also played Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Actually, that's not exactly true. My first games were basic D&D, the red box stuff.
My first was AD&D. My first character was an Urda Paladin in Dragonlance.
And the first thing I ever bought was that red box. I don't have it anymore, but I also got another box set which had a giant black dragon on it. I do still have that. I got this around the same time.
Ooh.
Pretty, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a special place in my heart for basic D&D because of all of this. No one else will ever want to play basic Dungeons and Dragons, but
I've actually thought about with you having a retro game stream set up where we go to really old or obscure systems and run one shots.
yeah, the fastest
Didn't we
Star
play
Trek
that
game.
one basic D&D game with Zenzar?
Xandar, yeah, Xandar's Dungeon. I ran it for Matt once.
Mm-hmm.
I did. We did it on my porch.
Then I end up thinking, but that would mean I'd have to run AD&D second ed with it being my idea, and I don't want to go back and review those rules. I hate THACO.
I have 79 basic D&D box sets somewhere. Yes! Wrath of the Immortals, Champions of Mystara, Hollow World.
I remember playing in those with you. I remember that. That was quite a fun time there.
Oh, here's an interesting take. People build up parasocial relationships with hobbies too. Other people getting involved and changes your outside expectation can threaten that. It's a good point. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good point. You build your identities kind of around these things, and a new version of it or something that doesn't fit your idea of what it should be kind of threatens that identity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
Which is why I'm so glad that the order is made up of people that are always there's always able to find at least somebody if you say, hey, I want to run this system for you guys, even if you've never heard of it before. With the order you can get a full table and stream it and
yeah,
be able to celebrate it,
yeah, yeah.
even if it doesn't go on for very long like my cyberpunk games, but it's still always fun and we get to show and share that way.
So
Yeah,
charms.
John, I'm just a year younger than you.
So
But
ch-
when did you start gaming is also an important factor on things.
yes, yes, it is.
Like Corey is younger than me, but his gaming experience is almost a third longer than mine because he started when he was single digit age, whereas I didn't start till freshman year of high school in 91.
Charms. Charms are magically infused tokens of spiritual power. So in the current edition, they added these types of charms. Um, like the last game, I gifted that charm to the unicorn that I had, and they do have special bonuses, but they're not like insanely powerful or anything like that. They're um, very situational. And I was surprised because that's the first game. This current edition of Legend of the Five Rings is the first game that had charms that would give bonuses, and I was like, "This is interesting and cool. I kind of like this." Um, but here it seems like maybe they have even better charms. So let's see what they got. At first level, a character can have one active charm. At fifth level, they can have one charm of rank 2 or two of rank 1. Oh, they can have one of rank 1
No,
and additional rank 2. That's what they have. And at 11th level, they can have one rank 1, one rank 2, and one rank 3. That's cool. I like this.
since for the rank two and threes, it's saying up to at 11th level, you could have three first levels if that's what you want.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I like this that you have charm slots. Um I think I would put this rule in Legend of the Five Rings regular. I think this is a
I,
great thing. You have a charm
and
slot.
I just had the thought, oh hey, easy modification to make it fit with Final Fantasy materia. Just give weapons charm slots and make it so that you can actually put charms in it and use them.
But yeah, a charm slot sounds great. You can have them hanging from like hairpins. You can have them like dangling from prayer beads. You can have like even you ever watch like an anime where they wear like a piece of cloth over their face that has like special like artwork on it and letters on it and maybe like a stylized eye on it. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a charm too. Like they could really bring a lot of like cool character design stuff to your RPG character. I like this idea. I really do. Um, Charms sound wonderful, and
Though the very first charm that's mentioned, I'm reading through and I'm going for low level campaigns, low level games. That's kind of a game breaker.
Damage
Ancient
reduction.
Mountains charm.
Yeah. Um.
When another character damages you with an attack, you can use this charm and your reaction to reduce the damage by 1d6 plus your proficiency.
So by 3 at the very least, damage reduction.
Yeah,
Is this
at
every
first level.
turn, or is this like a,
You
oh,
have to use your reaction, but
you cannot use it again until you complete a long rest.
oh, okay. Okay, that's a lot better.
There it is. Right there under rank 1 charms. Interesting. Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's a lot more balanced now. Okay. If it was just anytime you have a reaction available, which means once per round, that
No.
becomes a bit broken. Especially if you go ahead and, since it's fully compatible with 5e, make your foreigner a full barbarian with barbarian rage.
Oh, one thing I noticed about the character sheet that I'd like to talk about is, well, it
Besides
has,
it being hard to find.
other than it being hard to find, is, well, it has places for your techniques and your invocations and your martial abilities or whatever, all of that kind of new stuff. It doesn't have spaces for like your focus points or your merciless dice or that big yin yang table that you have to move back and forth on. Doesn't have any of that on the character sheet. And that yin yang chart, that that spectrum of yin to yang that you can go up and down on, that is such a, like, you need that printed out in front of you, and you need a token to put on that to move back and forth as you play the game.
Mm-hmm. With John saying flood of ideas there, I just had a thought for another kind of stream we could do later on. If we advertised it enough and got enough of our patrons all saying that they'd be there for it, game master advice. You got idea? You want ideas? You want to help with your game? Whatever. You got two well-experienced game masters right here.
I'd rather, I instead of a live stream, I'd rather just have people ask me questions, and then I'd make a short video answering those questions and put it on the main channel.
That could work too, but it was a thought.
Um,
And I tend to work a little better on extemporaneous reaction rather than having to sit and think.
Rank 3 charms provide a passive benefit and can be used for an active benefit. Um, and but all of the charms say you can't use them until you do a long rest, except for rank 3, which also provides a passive benefit. Interesting. Chapter 5, Customization and Feats.
And you
Multi-classing.
cannot purchase a rank 3 charm. That's an interesting little thing too. You can buy rank 1s and 2s at pretty
Shrines.
much any shrine you visit.
Yep. Rank 1s at any shrine, rank 2s at specific fortune shrines. So you have to find the right fortune to that. They'll specially prepare it for you. And rank 3 are narrative rewards only. You can only find them by doing a task for a certain person or finding them in a weird tomb or whatnot.
It specifically says by interacting with a powerful spirit who chooses to bestow its boon upon the character.
There you go. So customization and feats. Multi-classing. So you can multi-class. You can be a Shugenja Bushi. You can be a shinobi, monk, whatever you want.
As long as you have the stats above 13 for it.
Yep. You need to at least have certain stats at a certain place. And then it tells you how focus points work, combat stances work. It's very light on these rules.
Mm-hmm.
Seems fine to me. Feats. Setting specific feats are available. You can also get the ones in the player's handbook. But here are some extra feats. Battlefield training. wow, these do a lot. Usually a feat has maybe two abilities on it. One which is like a special thing you can do, and another that will increase an ability score by one. But here, you get like four different things. Increase your strength or dexterity by one. Gain proficiencies with all of these weapons.
Two
Gain
other martial
proficiencies in
weapons,
two other martial weapons you pick. Gain proficiency with light armor, medium armor, and lacquered armor.
but not other heavy.
So you can just in earlier games in the D&D book, you had if you could use light armor, you'd have to get medium armor and then heavy armor in order to use heavy armor as a feat with that feat. Here
Yep.
it's just like you can just take this and
You could be courtier class to begin with and go, I'm taking battlefield training.
and then
Don't need to multi-class as a bushi. I'm just a courtier who has battlefield training.
Yep, and then you go straight from knowing how to use light armor to all the way using heavy lacquered armor.
But not other heavy armors, just the lacquered.
Just the lacquered. Oh no! Oh, woe is me! Charm Connoisseur, another one that gives you 4 bonuses. Increase your intelligence by 1. Gain a proficiency in calligraphy. You can create copies of charms. And you can spend a bonus action to exchange one of your inactive charms with one of your used charms. Interesting. So you can just be like, this charm's done. Boop. I now put in a new charm in my charm slot. Huh. Wow, can you get a bunch of mountain charms and just every time somebody hits you, use your bonus action to switch it out?
Reaction, yeah.
No. It says here you use a bonus action to exchange one, and then a reaction when somebody hits you to use it. So somebody hits you, you use it, and then on your turn, bonus action, switch it out. And you have like 10 of them in your bag. You can do it 10 times before taking a long rest. Interesting idea.
It does take some time to make them, and you have to make the religion check to make it. And it costs you 5 silver every time, whether you succeed or not.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you to see how something will work?
All right.
Can you give this guy a little bit of like eyeliner, probably under the eye? Just
I'm considering doing that too, so I'll go ahead and work on that because the lips are just like kind of escaping me. I'm like, how the fuck do I make the colors on this guy?
I think the lips look pretty good.
Looks all right. A little bit much on purple, I think, but
yeah, like I'm looking at the reference that you gave me, and that's what my eye is seeing, but I'm pretty sure that I'm probably misreading it as like the base color rather than the true color that's supposed to be.
Clarity in Solace. Increase your wisdom score by 1. Oh, only 2 things here. When you perform an invocation, gain 1 additional favor to spend on its empowerment.
In the reference pics, his lips are pretty pale.
Yeah, like I said, I have a hard time like reading the proper colors of the lips.
I don't know. I like his red full lips.
Yeah, and it's still a unicorn color, so I got no problem having people think I wear a little bit of cosmetics when I'm at court.
That eyeshadow is doing a lot there. That's looking really good.
Thank you. And thank you for the suggestion too. Like I was kind of battling with it. I was like, okay, I know there's something going on here. I need to figure out something.
I've taken classes in professional stage makeup, so a couple years ago, I only took it like this past year. So now I feel more like I can comment more on these types of things. maybe I'll show you guys. Would the people in the chat like to see some of my professional stage makeup that I put on myself? I couldn't use it on other people. I had to perform it on myself only because of COVID. But if you want to see that, just speak up and we'll do it. Fashionable. Increase your. I love this one. This one is very L5RE. Fashionable feat. Increase your charisma by 1. When you spend at least 5 minutes in a place inhabited by sentient creatures, you can tell what the local fashions are and how best to blend in or stand out. Bob from Accounting, you've seen my pictures before. I don't.
You also can spend an hour or a long rest or 1 hour of focused work to make your outfit either resplendent regalia or unremarkable clothes.
That's cool. I like that.
No matter what you happen to be wearing to begin with.
Even if you're wearing armor. Nice.
And it lasts until your next long rest.
Can I please turn up my sound? Yes. Yes, I can. Oh shoot, that's already up at the max. Why is that doing that? Okay. I'm coming over to
It's
this.
just on stream because with me you're fine.
Yeah. All of these
Tarek, you've seen the pictures already.
Let's bring that up to. I brought that up to 110. Hopefully that's doing something for you. If not, I can. Let's go 120. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to go to 120%. Check, check, check. Okay, we're going to bring that over. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 1, 2. How is that? I hope
you sound perfectly fine to me.
Wow, you're hitting the red.
Me?
Yeah. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's me doing the sound stuff, but apparently people are having a hard time hearing it, so I guess I'll let it clip a little and see what happens.
All right.
Okay, let's.
Right before Matt said it sounds perfectly fine to me, you actually were a lot better. I went and turned the sound on YouTube and muted my mic to double check.
Okay.
And Tarek says much better, so we're all good now.
I'm going to throw up a new screen capture here.
Orange helps.
We're going to show people these fine pictures. All right, y'all wanted it. Here it is. There's my professional stage makeup pictures.
Well, since we're looking at Matt's screen, I'm not seeing it.
Well, it's on the stream, okay?
Okay, then I guess it'll pop up in a moment.
This is so frustrating.
There,
you know, I never really practice painting lips, and now I'm regretting it. Well, that's the next thing I need to do.
That's me.
That would be
Hulkamania style.
Yep.
That's not a cane. That's actually an instrument. I'll show you another pic. I have another one that's more L5R kind of related. Check this out.
Yeah, when you first showed me the pictures with you as Hulkster, I was like, "Did you? Do you have a cousin that's related to Hulk Hogan?" Because you did enough on changing the way your face read in the pictures that
Yes.
I didn't think it was you. I thought it was somebody related to you, but I didn't think it was you.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll be right. I'll be right back, guys.
Changing
Just need to step
how
away for a moment.
making artificial shadows on your face can change so much about how you look.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think of this guy?
On the orange hair wig one, um, for the most part, I thought it was really great. Even the first time I saw it, uh, but the wig itself, it for some reason has little crimpies in it, and that just always threw me off a little.
That's how these kabuki wigs are, man. That's
Like I'm
just how
used to
they are.
seeing wigs with that kind of cut line on it, and it being purely straight hair, or not looking like it's gone through an '80s hair or press thing.
So yeah, I think I'm a pretty good makeup artist. Though I should have put more white all the way down my arm here. I just didn't have the time. We only have a certain amount of time to do these makeups, man, and I'm doing them to myself, and oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Another alternative would have been to just get like white opera gloves that fit you,
I should have painted my
since they would go up
fingernails.
far enough.
I should have painted my fingernails a really dark color.
Or that. I am
Anyways,
loving what Matt's done so far on the character. It's looking great.
I hope everyone out there enjoyed some of those picks. We'll be moving down to Forbidden Sorcery. Um, your spellcasting attribute is your intelligence. Your attack modifier is equal to 10 plus your proficient bonus plus your intelligence modifier. Huh? You can cast several spells from the SRD on a limited basis, requiring no components. Bane, Command, and Inflict Wounds. After you cast one of these spells this way, you cannot cast them again until you complete a long rest. Additionally, you can cast Mark of Desecration spell found on page 403 at your will. Interesting. You can use spells.
And it specifically is saying also that it's not easily detected. They have to make a wisdom saving throw equal to your spell save DC to realize you even cast anything. That's kind of scary, but it is limited to just the spells you get from this feat.
Genuine Idealist. Increase your constitution by 1. When the game master gives you inspiration, you can choose a friendly character who you can perceive to gain inspiration as well. Again, I don't like this. Inspiration is there to incentivize roleplay, and when you give inspiration out without that roleplay aspect, it gives people a way out of enjoying that aspect of the game.
Now, if they were using it in the same way as meaning like bardic inspiration, that's fine.
No,
But
this
if they're
is
meaning it as like the advantage inspiration, as have an inspiration point thing, then it's quite different. And since it's saying if you already have an inspiration point from the GM, you can go ahead and give it to 2 other people.
yeah.
It means that it is the inspiration point thing rather than bardic.
Yeah, that's exactly. There's no bard in this game.
Other than
That could have been
courtiers.
a courtier thing, but no,
Mhm.
no. The Lion have bards. No, no. Graceful combatant. Additionally, you can use your dexterity instead of your strength for attack and damage rolls when you make the following: unarmed, simple melee weapons, improvised weapons. Okay. I mean, I don't know this rule very well. I don't know unarmed stuff in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but I always thought that your weapons were finesse weapons. Your fists were finesse weapons no matter what. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know the rules that well. I don't know.
No idea.
You see, Bob, from accounting, I disagree with you. Um, uh, while you would say, yeah, it's really good because it can give everybody inspiration and thus can help with everybody making great roles, I totally agree. But then people can uh, forget.
Mechanic their way on it.
Yeah, it becomes a mechanical thing rather than a role play thing. People will ignore their flaws, their personality traits, their bonds because they don't feel like they don't need to play them now because they can just get inspiration in other ways, mechanical ways. And I think that is a detriment to the fun of the game. And so while I get how useful that is, um, I don't
right back.
care. I don't care about mechanical usefulness more than I care about having fun role playing and exploring characters and overcoming flaws and things of that nature. Paragon. When you are granted inspiration for pursuing this motivation, you strive to exemplify ideals, virtues, and philosophies. Choose one of your motivations. We're going to get into motivations soon. Gain the following benefits associated with it. When you are granted inspiration for pursuing this motivation, gain temporary hit points equal to a d8 plus your proficiency. If your current hit points are up, well, there went Matt. Everybody left me. I'm all alone now. I'm all alone. It's just me and the commenters.
Yeah.
You can spend inspiration to rouse your comrades. Each friendly creature who perceives you gains temporary hit points. I love that. That's great. You spend your inspiration and everybody gets a bonus. That sounds like a great way to make inspiration better. Your motivation ever changes. You can either select a new feat to replace this one, or with the GM's permission, become a paragon of your new motivation. That sounds fine. Shadowlands Might. You can only choose this feat if you have come into contact with a lost creature, traveled in the Shadowlands, or otherwise been exposed to cursed essence.
And Matt is back, and there we go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have no idea what the heck happened with my connection there. But glad to be back.
Let me tell you something. I'm having problems, technical problems, with my Parallels, which is it basically runs Windows inside of my Mac, and I'm having problems running a controller through it. So I contacted Parallels, and they said they couldn't solve it, they couldn't do this, and then the phone got disconnected, and I was fine. I was like, okay, I guess M1 Macs are wacky and they can't fix it. Whatever, I'm fine. They started sending me email after email, like, we lost contact with you. Call us back. We'd love to solve your problem. What nice people. They really wanted to help me with this. So yeah, I'm going through more of the process so they can solve this problem. Apparently, it's happening to a lot of people. So them helping me is helping a lot of other customers as well. So that's probably part of it.
This definitely provides warmth.
Anyways, I want to see what Shadowlands Might does. Choose an ability score, increase it by 2, and now
And can go to a maximum of 22.
I know, that's nice. You become a lost creature. What you gonna do?
And you gain a power.
Yes, a Shadowlands power. Wow.
And if your hit points are below half, you can tap into that power.
And immediately gain 2d8 hit points, even if your hit points are at 0. Cool.
If you're at 0, you can still use the power. Holy crap.
That's cool. You have disadvantage on wisdom saving throws. Only to resist the powers and abilities of lost creatures. You are forever bound to the destiny of fooling. I mean, whatever. I mean, really, in Legend of the Five Rings, your destiny is always bound to somebody, some big wig above you anyways. Oh no, now it's Fu Ling instead of the Emperor. I mean...
Whatever shall I do?
Oh, my destiny is no longer tied to a mortal man. It is now tied to an immortal being that shall never die. That means I technically never really die either. I just turn into a demon when I die.
I mean, the biggest problem with this is that everybody hates you and wants you dead because you're tainted with Shadowland stuff. And living in hell kind of sucks.
As we saw in Wheel of Judgment.
But
there's no food. There's no tea.
But that said...
it's all blood and mud.
That said, when your character dies, your character's dead anyways, and the story's over, so whatever. It's the same stuff. Unusual weapon mastery, yeah. Watchful Ancestor, nice. You gain an additional hit die, a d4. Increase the number of death saving throws you must perish to 4. You must fail to perish to 4.
You still stabilize after 3 successful death saves.
When making your final death save, to avoid perishing, you have advantage. Wow. Nice. Unusual weapons example. Boat oar. Book. This is like... Have you ever played Elden Ring? The mages...
I could easily see, if I was making Rokugan in this, giving him that for books.
Yeah. So, in Elden Ring, there's like a magic academy you have to, fight your way through. And there's all these mages in it that wear these big stone masks. And that look like Greek, stone statue heads that they wear over their regular heads. And they're always casting these freaking ranged attacks at you that suck. But if you get within melee range, they pull out their spell book and whack you with it. It's so great. Just back. I was like, what just happened to me? Did he just hit you with his book?
There are several JRPGs that have characters on your side wielding big, massive books. And yeah, they're usually spellcasters, but you can say, go hit him. And they take a big book and just go whap.
Do you know what I love? In 80s and early 90s cartoons, when you had a magic spellcaster, they would open a book and it would grow big, and then they would ride on it like it was a flying carpet. Loved that stuff.
After the unusual weapon examples, we get to clan-specific feats.
Ooh. I guess there's a benefit to being in part of a clan.
Finally.
Oh, wait. No. You can be part of that crab clan or just have a wisdom of this or higher. Like, you don't need to be part of anything.
Joy.
Ceaseless
Yeah,
vigilance.
every single one, all four of those clan feats all say, or have the stat at this. But if you
Yep.
don't have the stat at that, you can get it anyway if you're part of this clan.
Look, they really want to move away from sectioning things off by the faction you're part of. And I don't like that. I
No,
like.
it reduces the uniqueness of each of the clans and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I like that you kind of have to commit to something if you want that benefit of them. You know? Um, that there are trade offs in life that you have to take. And one of those might be the people you follow. I don't understand. I don't understand making things more generic. In an older D&D video game, a necromancer used a book as a shield. Yep. That sounds like a cool, like, I wouldn't use
Which
my
led to
spell
the
book as a
gamer's
shield.
joke about, and I sneak attack it. It's a book. It's got a spine.
Oh. I don't know, if it was just like a random book, sure, I'd use that as a shield. But your spell book, I don't know if you'd want to use your spell book as a shield. That's a little important.
Especially in the cases of tattooed wizards that where their skin is their spell book.
I'm just gonna kind of skim through these and see if there's anything here that's really cool. You can. Oh no. Crane clan feats. Well connected. Dragon clan feats. Disruptive
Oh,
strikes. If you find anything that you think is like amazing, please tell me.
Phoenix Clan feats. There's where you find lore master and scholars.
Oh, it's just a feat. It's not even a background. It's a feat.
Yeah. And it says you are extremely well versed in the history, lands, and peoples of Rokugan and its neighboring countries, granting you the following benefits. You gain proficiency with arcana, history, nature, and religion skills. So basically, you get all the knowledge skills proficiency.
Apprentice.
Choose a language, and you learn to speak, read, write, and sign it as applicable. Oh, when you make an intelligence-based skill check within a library or other place of learning, you half the time needed to undertake the research. And when you fail an intelligence-based skill check, you gain advantage on the next intelligence-based skill check you make using a different skill within the next 10 minutes.
I'm seeing a lot of feats that basically give you a class feature of another class. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you get favor points in invocations. You get focus points and martial powers. You get rhetoric flourishes in secrets upon secrets and tenebrous acts. You get the sleight of hand skill. Oh no, you get ninja tools. 2 ninja tools.
Okay, Unicorn Clan feat. First one is Animal Companion, and then it has list of specific ones you can have at different levels. So recognize that this is a Unicorn Clan. At level 11, you could have your Animal Companion be a killer whale.
I mean, this should be for any clan because Mantis would ride Orochi, giant sea snakes into battle.
Well, it does say a charisma of 13 or higher if you're not a unicorn.
Lion Clan. I'm gonna show people the Lion Clan would use war cats in their battles. Like I don't know why this is a unicorn thing. This should have been an everybody thing. And really, I'd break it down by clan. Like, hey, at level 1 or 2, you get like a small cat. At levels this, you get like a lion. You get a dire lion or whatever, however you want to call it. I don't care.
Yeah, John, you're pretty much right. All of the scorpion feats pretty much are you're a ninja, you're a ninja, you're a ninja, you're a ninja.
I mean, no, two of them are ninja stuff. Tenebrous arts and tread lightly are kind of ninja things. Secrets upon secrets and weaknesses as strength are more courtier things.
I can see that, but also the weakness of strength works for ninja too.
I mean, secrets upon secrets, you get rhetorical flourishes and intrigue dice. That's you basically get the courtier special
Mhm.
ability.
Which means, okay, take Shinobi class, be Scorpion, and take Secrets upon Secrets. And oh, there you are. Courtier Shinobi all at one.
Apparently, and I said I didn't know, I haven't seen the Moth Clan before. Apparently, they're in Celestial Realms book, but they're not talked about like as a clan. They're just mentioned that they created a magical item, which is a candle that can allow you to like bring dreams to life or some weird stuff like that. Within the realm of that candle, dreams become real. But yeah, the unicorn stuff, seasoned writer makes sense. Trade expert makes sense. Imperial family feat, celestial authority. Yeah. Minor clan feats. The Moth clan gets Dreamscape Journey. You can journey into the realm of dreams. So apparently the like specific clan stuff are feats, but not like anybody can get those feats anyways. So
Also, with 5e, feats are optional.
they are. They're an optional thing. Phantom Thief, Cat Clan. You are trained in the feline arts of subtle entry and granting you the following benefits. Double your proficiency bonus on sleight of hand. You can take a bonus action to disarm a trap. A bonus action to disarm a trap. And he's gone again. A bonus action to disarm a trap. That's cool. And not realistic at all, but whatever. D&D doesn't have to be realistic.
No, no. In fact, it's often better if you have a very strong uh, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. And then there are regional backgrounds in feats. If you're a non-samurai background, you can be a brawler. Your unarmed strike uses a d4 for damage instead of being 1 point. There. You need a 15 or higher strength for that, though. Or just be a non-samurai. What is non-samurai background, though? Is that, like, you can be a monk? Yeah, I think monk counts.
Well, it says specifically background. So that would be the foreigner background is a possibility.
Yeah.
And there are the other backgrounds you mentioned. Not all of them are samurai connected.
No. I know that. I'm just saying what constitutes a samurai background and what doesn't is what I'm asking. Like, do monks count as samurai class? So
I think that's completely up to.
I'm going to go backwards a bit and look to see what it exactly says about these things.
There's also species feats.
Oh, lovely.
And those you have to be the species to get.
Oh, that's good at least. That's probably because, oh, this one has wings, and unless you have wings, you can't take this.
The very first one is for Nagas, and it's constriction, being able to wrap your serpentine body around somebody and squeeze them really hard.
Exactly. So, great clans of Rokugan. It it doesn't say what a non-samurai background is. Backgrounds don't. The backgrounds chapter does not segregate things from samurai to non-samurai backgrounds. I don't think. Let me keep. No, those are languages. There are great clans. Samurai education. In childhood, the samurai of the Emerald Empire, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, when they're going with species specific, humans are not ignored. There's one for them too.
Oh, that's nice.
Hmm.
Okay, it doesn't
What's that for the
say.
humans?
It just
That's
says
called
that.
persistence.
It says that great clans get samurai education. Um, Imperial Court, but it doesn't say Imperial Court backgrounds are samurai. They don't have Imperial education under them. Does something say that they're not samurai? Maybe that's what we're looking at.
Well, oh.
How to play a Ronin. Are Ronin samurai?
Yeah, yes, technically.
In Rokugan, some Ronin are
There's
samurai whose fortunes have fallen. So I guess they're samurai, it says right there. Monk backgrounds. So yeah, it doesn't say who's a samurai and who's not a samurai? What? Okay, I'm gonna go back to Feats and see if Feats tell me what a non.
Nope, the regional one does not tell you that.
No. It does not say what a non-samurai background is. What is a non-samurai background?
Not being part of any of the clans mentioned previously.
I guess, yeah, anything that wasn't mentioned previously is a non-samurai background. I guess. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, that would mean Ronin falls under that, I guess. Oh, oh no.
Though, admittedly, all of the feats that are non-samurai ones there are all basically commoner or basic stuff. Well, translator knowledge probably not, but everything else, artisan ingenuity, you're an artisan. Brawler's edge, you're a street thug. Laborer endurance, you're a laborer. Merchant streetwise, you're a merchant. Survivalist, okay, you're somebody who's living in the woods with nobody around. Translator's knowledge may or may not, but yeah.
Oh no. Oh no, James. The persistence, the human species only feat persistence is terrible.
Every long rest, give yourself inspiration.
You gain one effort point, which you can spend the following ways as a free action. You can get any one clan resource, or I'm sorry, class resource, favor, focus point, intrigue, dice, whatever. Or you can just grant yourself inspiration. Like I said, you don't have to roleplay anymore. You can just give yourself inspiration. No. No. Bad.
And the last part's also bad.
You stumble on a something you could do to reach your current goal. The GM should provide the clue. I'm not.
And it should give you a tangible course of action.
Yeah, I'm not really that mad about that. It could come in handy when people are stuck. But yeah, I see why you might be a little iffy on that. I get it. I get it. I mean, like I gather information. I roll my gather information skill and tell me what I learn.
Or I roll a different knowledge skill that I think might apply to the situation and go, does this help any? Can I think of anything from this that'll help?
So we're moving to motivations now, chapter 6. And motivations are the thing that replaces your, I guess they replace your character trait, your personality trait, your flaw, your bond. So it says each player in Adventures in Rokugan have two primary motivations that they select during character creation. They help develop the character stories. Motivations are the main way that both the GM and the player can call upon their character's motivation to introduce complications in the story. They're also the main way in which characters gain inspiration. So the old rules on gaining inspiration are gone. We're now using motivations to gain inspiration. And I don't think that that's a bad idea. If you want to change role-playing flaws to role-playing motivations, I'm perfectly happy with that. I think that's there are different pros and cons to either way to go. I don't see why either way would be bad or would be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just different levels of goodness. Maybe one is better in certain situations than others. Let's check them out though. Inspirations function as described in the SRD, allowing characters to make rolls with advantage, but in Adventures in Rokugan adds a number of new ways for characters to gain inspiration in addition to a reward for acting, speaking, thinking, or feeling in line with one character's motives when the GM sees fit. Yeah, that's the thing I have a problem with. Choosing motivations. There are 6 categories of motivations: bonds, desires, duties, fears, ideals, regrets. Sounds fine. Informing roleplay, adding complications for inspiration. Complications provide additionally slightly more codified way for players and GMs to use these characters' motivations at the table. A complication is a slight narrative term or brief moment that stems from one or more characters' motivations that gives the character involved inspiration. So I'm fine with this too. The game master uses a motivation to create a new plot device or plot point that interrupts the regular flow of game, and you get inspiration for that. I'm actually okay with that. Because it still, moves roleplay forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, though the aspect of saying after you finish the prior steps of character creation, choose 2 motivations as described in this section. And those are the 6 categories. So you get 2.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if you're trying to encourage role playing, I'd be going more, take as many as you like, but limit it to maybe 1 per category.
Here's my problem with complications. I see complications as a good thing. Like, I'm using something that's like your flaw or your background or something, and I'm adding that into the game where it normally wouldn't be there, and that's a complication, and it gives you an inspiration point. Or in regular L5R, it gives you a void point. I'm okay with this, but I also think that when you're caught up in role playing and adding these things and people are riffing off you, to say stop, give yourself a void point, this is a motive, this is a complication, interrupts the good role play with a mechanic. And a lot of times when I add stuff from people's backgrounds, I don't even think to give people void points or anything like that. I know you don't, James. It's part
Not
of the
unless
game.
you say you're specifically doing something that would.
So it's like saying it's a complication makes it seem like it's something outside of the game that's coming into the game. But no, it's all the same thing. So we don't even think to give these rewards out. I don't. So what I'm doing for the new game is I'm creating a new opportunity called Doomed.
And
And
on an example from Linus, I can't begin to count the number of times Matt mentioned his character was an irrepressible flirt and then never flirted with anyone the entire time.
I know.
Yeah, I know. That's
He kept
my
giving
bad.
the excuse, my brothers-in-law are right there. So flirt with them. Damn. You're irrepressible about it. You can't help it.
So, what I'm doing is I'm creating a new opportunity called Doomed. And what it is on a roll, if you have opportunity, you can spend them on Doomed. And what happens is the GM creates a complication for you right then and there that changes the encounter for the worst for the PCs. But that PC does get a void point. So they're like, I need a void point. Give me one, Game Master. Okay, but bad stuff happens right now. I guess I take
I
that as a
somehow
trade-off.
got a roll where I only got opportunities and I got 8 of them. I'm going to spend that on a void point, thank you.
Yeah, give me Doom.
And then you have me stumble on something because it's only 2 points left on the scale.
So you're not telling people the entire thing. What he's saying is the more opportunity you spend on Doomed, the less severe it will be. So if you only spend one opportunity on Doomed, like something cataclysmic's going to happen. But if you spend 4 opportunity on Doomed, like
it's still kind of bad, but
you trip and you have +1 TN on your next attack. So it's not something insurmountable. But like, hey, you only spend 1 opportunity on Doomed. Okay, a new combatant comes out and he's got dark magic and starts sucking your soul.
you're going to be spending that void point almost immediately.
So hero and danger points from 7C exactly. Exactly. Yes. And I think that's a much better way to gain void from complications, where the player goes, I would like a complication, give me void. Rather than the game master having to just remember, oh yeah, that's a void thing because of this and that. Get out of here with
Also, you still have banking. So if you only have 1 opportunity and you don't know what to do with it.
I'm getting rid of the banking rule. It's only going to be doomed. Okay. It's only going to be doomed.
Well, then I see a lot of orphaned opportunities not getting used.
I don't think so because we're using the full opportunity list again. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, I don't have a problem with complications as an idea, but in practice, it doesn't seem to work for me. And it doesn't seem to work for other people either. So that's why I don't think it's that great of a rule. I mean, a good effort, execution not there.
Yeah, heck, partway through Blood of the Lioness, I was starting to consider, okay, after you guys go to sleep, when you wake up, just have a void point to make up for anything I missed. But also, our group burns through void points fast.
Well, here's the thing. In the rules, it says at the start of every game, you hit that little thing and refresh people's void, and it goes to the half void. What is a game?
Yeah, that's a good question because that really does.
Now, the book specifically has something called a game session, which is one sit down, couple hours, and then you get up and you get down. And that's a game session. But
Mhm.
this specifically just says game.
which
So,
would be, which to me would mean, okay, we went through all of Blood of the Lioness. At the end of Blood of Lioness, when I'm reading off all those rewards that you got, the allies and all of that, oh, by the way, also regain half your void.
yeah, that's one game. You played through an entire adventure. That's a game. To me, I'm a little more lenient. I said it's an act. An act is a game. You've made it through one part of it. That's an established part. You've survived it, and you've moved on to the next part.
Yeah.
You've won
To
that part of the
me,
game.
when you go to start a new game, you should just have it all reset.
Yeah. So
Your strife should be dropped back to zero. Your fatigue dropped back to zero. Your void back to max. Any expendables replenished.
so um it's just if you have, like, I understand if you meant something and it's not coming in clear when you wrote it, you thought it came in clear but it didn't, and people are having problems. That's what a errata is for, to clear up these confusions. It's not in the errata. And in fact, the L5R errata is pretty dang light. For as much confusion as that book causes, they didn't at all clarify a lot of things, and it kind of sucks. Anyways, let's go through motivation categories. We've got bonds, desires. Oh, they just give examples. It's
And
all
then they
kind of
go
a
on
role
to
play thing.
example versions, which seem fairly light in a lot of ways.
They're just role play things. I'm okay with this. Motivation conflicts. What is a conflict? Wait, oh, I went too far. I'm sorry, guys.
It does not say.
Oh, a motivation conflict is part of a complication.
Mm.
So, example of motivation conflicts have more guidance on how various types of motivations can conflict the story. So, yeah, a conflict is just another type of complication. So, whenever this chart happens, when things like these happen, you get an inspiration point. I guess that's it. Techniques.
And on just a quick glance down, it's basically just getting into combat rules on using techniques. It's describing lines, cubes, slams, sweeps, spears, and how they all end up on a map.
Um, yeah, like for a game that used to be mind's eye theater a lot more, they are really giving you a lot of these little map features here for your area of effects.
Then it goes into conditions.
Yep, new conditions: bleeding, disoriented, distracted, maimed, marked for death, provoked, weakened. Sure, whatever. I'm okay with all of these.
Then it starts going into details for those, and then it actually reaches them.
I mean, look, distracted gives a creature a -2 to its armor class. maimed, like a -2 to its armor class. This rule stinks of earlier editions of D&D. Yeah, exactly, right? This is the kind of stuff that 5th edition wanted to move away from.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted things to be simpler. You get advantage or you get disadvantage, and that's it. No
Yep.
more calculating all of these different bonuses and minuses from different places.
Yeah, it'd be much simpler to say, okay, you're disoriented. Your opponents get advantage on attacking you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you
Exactly.
can't defend yourself very well.
Um a creature that is marked for death takes an additional D8 force damage the next time that creature is marked for death. It hits with a melee attack. Okay. I like provoked. A provoked creature has disadvantage on any attack rolls other than the creature that provoked it. I like that rule. That's a good rule. That's a fantastic condition. Provoked. I love it. Marked for death is too fiddly. Don't like it. Maimed. -10 speed. I don't like that. Just say half speed. -10 speed is weird. Just say half speed and dexterity saving throw. I don't. Why -10? That's such a weird rule. Half speed.
It's because they're taking it from 5th ed, and there's several things that give bonus 10 feet movement too.
Is there?
Yeah.
Not
Like
conditions.
barbarians, they automatically get +10 movement.
But I'm just saying, not conditions.
No.
These are class abilities.
I just said there were things.
I'm just saying, like, conditions in D&D will give you half movement, like being prone and standing up. Bleeding, a creature that is bleeding takes a d4 piercing damage at the start of each of its turns. I've seen this rule in other D&D games. I mean, it's fine. I think there's better ways to do this. Bleeding seems to be one of those things that just slows a game way down, as everybody has to stop and stop the bleeding instead of continuing on with the combat.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's fine, I guess, but the whole point of hit points is that it's kind of not hitting you at the same time that it's hitting you.
Yeah.
Weakened, a creature loses its damage resistances. That's fine. I like that. That's a good condition too. Like this thing can't resist you anymore because it's been weakened.
And its immunities become resistances.
Yep. It loses resistances.
Yep. So regular resistance go away. Immunity drops a level to resistant.
I like that. I think that's great.
Yeah. Makes everything go down a level.
Martial techniques. This is the stuff you spend focus points for. Crashing wave cut. Focus cost 3+. So here's the thing. A Bushi or a duelist, they gain focus points every turn. They start every scene with 0. At the end of every turn, they gain a focus point.
Mm-hmm.
So, a low-level character to do Crashing Wave Cut has to at least been in combat for 3 turns in order to perform this technique.
Yep.
Mind you, higher-level characters gain focus faster.
Same for the next 2 techniques. The one after that, at least 2 rounds in combat. And yeah, it seems like I'm not seeing anything that's just one. Oh shit, there's one that's a 4, and it's for Ayajutsu. Does that make any sense to you that you have to be 4 rounds deep in combat before you do an Ayajutsu cut?
That doesn't make much sense to me either. It's like any sheathed melee weapon. So you've been fighting for 4 rounds. I'm gonna resheath my sword real quick, guys. Hold on. Shh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Three,
Wow.
4 rounds on anything Ayajutsu.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um this is
I'm gonna take a quick pause, guys. I'm gonna save the file.
this
So,
is
James, what do you think so far?
I like it a lot.
Any
And I
changes?
think I know why you didn't make the collar lapel black, because with the hair, it would just hide the hair.
Mm-hmm.
And when we shrink it, it's not going to look as good. So I'm fine with that change from my initial description.
Actually, I forgot that was the color. I was trying to remember what were the main colors that the unicorn uses, and I remember that they sometimes use white in their outfits. That's my main reasoning behind it. So my apologies.
Hey, like I said, I can also understand that not doing it, because once this gets shrunk to token,
Mm-hmm.
that would just be a black bar and the hair would be gone. So
Or
yeah,
blend
I
in with
fully
the hair.
understand doing it as a contrast color instead. So it's fine by me. Looks great.
Thank you. So
You
anything you would like
looking
in the
at his
background that
face,
indicates his
you do get the
elements?
kind of slightly shy and slightly going, I don't know if I trust you look
Mm.
that is constant on his face.
All right.
So you got that down perfect.
Sweet. All right, I
remember
gotta step away for a bit, but I will come right back.
remember you got to make a little background for these guys too.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, I will definitely do that. What are his main elements
Um,
or
he's
his
actually
rings?
he's actually balanced.
Oh, so two all across.
Yeah, he ended up
Ah,
with 2 and everything.
nice. Hmm. All right, I'll try to think of something, but I'll be right back.
Kit says different creatures have different speeds. It would affect some more than others. I know I kind of went off on the +10 speed a little more than I should have. Like I think I don't know why I'm mad at it.
Yeah. Oh, this guy's got a fly speed of 70. This guy's got a walking speed of 30. With the way you were ruling, okay, now the guy who flies goes to 35 and the guy who's at 30 goes to 15.
Yeah. I that's how I see it. That's how I think that's fair. New bad condition in the spirit of some of this pedantic. Any rule used by the character must be backed up with a book reference to take effect. Well, yeah, you do need a you mean an SRD reference. This rule doesn't follow the spirit of 5th edition, and therefore I think this rule needs to be taken out of the game. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Um
that condition would definitely slow games down, because you go, okay, I'm going to use this, pull out books, show the actual part on it, and then go, okay, now I can do it.
let's get into the kind of the meat and potatoes of some of these abilities here. Like Crescent Moon Defense. After you are missed by an attack, if the attacker is in range, you can spend your reaction to make a melee or unarmed attack against it. On a hit, the creature takes your weapon damage plus your ability modifier. If you use a weapon that deals slashing damage, whether you hit or miss, you gain advantage on the next attack roll or multi-target attack roll if you make using that weapon before the end of your turn. Dense. Dense. Crimson Leaf Blow. Make a multi-target melee weapon or unarmed attack against all creatures in range. On a hit, the creature takes your weapon damage plus your ability modifier. If you hit a creature and your attack roll also equals or exceeds its passive perception score plus 5, you can disarm that creature of one of the weapons it's holding. You choose whether the weapon falls at its feet or is knocked 5 feet away in a direction of your choice. You cannot disarm a creature of a weapon that is part of its body. You use a weapon that deals bludgeoning damage. Each creature you miss takes your weapon damage plus 1 per focus you spend beyond the base cost. If you spend at least 5 focus, the range becomes the weapon's range plus 5 feet. If you spend 7, it becomes 10 feet. If you spend 9, it becomes 15 feet. Holy monkeys. These powers are dense.
Also, on that one, okay, I got a Subo. Oh, a studded club, as they call it in this book. And we've been in combat for 10 rounds. I smashed the ground. Weapons in it, everybody in 15, in like 20 feet of me, all suddenly take my weapon damage and lose a weapon.
No. You have to, on a hit, they lose the weapon. On a miss, they just take the damage.
Ah. And with that, it goes out to 20 feet. They all still take a shit ton of damage.
Yes.
That's a bit much, even if you have to wait 10 rounds for it.
It's very much an anime kind of thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
These special abilities are nutsoid.
Yeah. There's a lot of weirdness in this. And,
Um,
but on the plus side, also, you only get so many of them.
yeah, that's true. A lot of these are very dense. Like, compare these to a standard warrior ability, and these things are 3 times the length.
And I'm going to have to go.
Okay.
It's getting late here,
All
so I got
right.
to go.
I guess we're done for the night.
Sorry, man.
I'll see you later. It's all right. No worries. We're all done for now. We'll pick up on techniques maybe tomorrow. We'll read some more. I'll pick up some chosen gems in this, though. Crimson League Leaves Blow is pretty nasty and insane. It's a fireball with a club. They don't even get
But
saving
yeah,
throws. They don't even get saving throws.
nope. They just take the weapon damage plus 1 point plus something else.
Well, thanks everybody who's watching this. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were talking to me about all of the cool things we found in this book, whether they're cool or whether they're crazy or whether they just don't work. I mean, we found equal measures of all of that, I think.
I agree, though possibly a little bit more into the cool category than any others.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time. Probably. I hope tomorrow. We'll see. Bye.